Welcome in Week 10 edition of Game Theory Thursdays. I'm your host, Ben Hostler. I'm joined this week by Matt. You can find him on Twitter at MigTheTig. You can see it right below his face there. And we are here to break down the Week 10 NFL DFS slate. As always, we're going to shout out our sponsors, OwnersBox Fantasy. You can head to ownersbox.online. Use promo code KARMA for a $500 deposit match. Free $10 DFS entry. You can use it on DFS contests. You can use it on lightning lineups. We give out picks for that in our Discord. Sam and I have been building DFS lineups for the OwnersBox slate on our Sunday morning streams before lock. So go ahead, use the promo code, lock in your deposit match, and get in the Discord. Matt, we haven't done a podcast together in a minute. We don't have Sam here tilting you with his internet. So how have you been? How's the let the people know how your DFS season's going, what's going on? Any big news, anything going on over there?
Well, I mean, you're the one with the big news last week. I mean,
Yeah, it was
Ben
a good
absolutely
week.
crushed.
It was a good
I
week.
mean, I think the people probably know at this point. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think just last week I finally went like negative on the year, which is just brutal, man. I mean, it was hot as all get out last year, and I had like one 10K win this year. I can't remember what week it was. I mean, I was fine, but yeah, I just had like 2 or 3 bad weeks in a row. Trying to fade this chalk is like a dead man's game, dude. Like it's just been absolutely brutal trying to fade any sort of chalk. And not that I mean, I do play some chalk for sure, but yeah, I mean, it's been a tough year for the GPP bros, and I only play typically like I think I usually say like 20-25% cash. So cash has been pretty good because again, it's not that hard to build a chalky cash lineup that just smashes. But yeah, I mean, definitely looking for some late season wins, which actually, I mean, look, I can't remember what software it is, but I think it's called like Roto something. But like all my big hits are late in the year, like truly like week 8 and on only is when I've had big hits. I think most of my approach is stat based, and obviously the stats become a lot more reliable and meaningful once you have a better sample size and we kind of know what the teams are. So that's where I'm at, and I'm hoping to absolutely smash the last 6-7 weeks that we have left here.
Yeah, I think like you're like a really really good player, so I probably wouldn't stress it too much. Kind of just stick to your process, and I think the wins will come. I feel pretty dialed in. I was gonna ask you before we get into the slate, since it's just
Mhm.
us two. There's only 10 games. I was gonna ask you
Yeah.
like, how are you approaching it now? Because like we've talked, you and I and Sam have had conversations the last few weeks about the chalk and how often it's been
Mhm.
hitting and stuff. So I was gonna ask you like if you're gonna be changing like your approach this week, or are you just gonna stick with what you've been doing?
No, I mean, I mean, I mentioned sample size becoming more meaningful, 10 weeks in, but no matter what, it's still a small sample size sport. And it's not as if this trend of like the chalk hitting is going to be like super reliable. I mean, could it happen? Sure. It's a small sample size. It could keep happening. Maybe it doesn't. I mean, I don't think it's more likely than not. So I'm definitely not changing any processes based on what's been happening. Could you make the argument that maybe the industry is getting sharper, so the chalk plays are actually better chalk because of sharper industry? You could make that argument. I don't think it's true though. We've seen this trend for the last at least 3 years now, where the industry's just sharp, man. Like they'll just fade a guy who absolutely smashed the week before for good reason, and then the guy doesn't do anything. So I mean, that's been happening. There hasn't been, I don't think, a spike this year. Um, what else is new this year? I mean, I guess running back pricing. Do you think that's unique to this season? I think it might be. That they're
Yeah,
always just stuck in the 6K range. Is that?
yeah.
I guess that is a little bit
That's
unique.
that's what I was gonna say. So my take on
Yeah.
it, whether it's right or wrong, has just been that in years past, to me, it seems like the value has always been at wide receiver with like guys getting hurt and stuff, and
Mhm.
there would always be kind of these cheaper receivers, and then we in turn would always be jamming in these like 9K running backs for like a cash team, right? Like
Yeah.
you would just plug
Sure.
two of those in, find a cheap receiver, to a cheap tight end, and then that's what you do. And then this season,
Mhm.
there has been literally no value, and there's in turn also on top of there being no value, there's no like expensive running backs to even pay up for anyways. Like they've all been in the 6K range, but even if like we weren't playing those guys, like there is no CMC like, or there
Yeah.
hasn't been, or like a
Right.
JT or someone that you've really really wanted to put in, and
Or the
I
week when CMC does drop 40 2 weeks ago, it didn't even matter because we
yeah
had multiple people dropping 40 at
yeah
6K.
yeah. I mean
So
if
yeah.
these running backs were 1,000 more expensive, I think the ownership would be more spread out. Definitely. So
I think lineup construction is kind of centered in on that type of a build, without question. And it's just a matter of fact that the non chalk plays. It's not as if they're not hitting at lower frequencies. It's just that the chalk plays are, so that when the non chalk plays do hit, again, it hasn't mattered. It certainly could matter. I think was it 2 weeks ago. I was texting you and Sam, I said, listen, this whatever lineup I had, I said this is a lineup that absolutely would be cashing really strong in the $1,500 game changer on DK, but it's not even cashing because of the weeks that we're having. So it's just like, yeah, I mean, but again, it's like the typical disclosure. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. Past results doesn't indicate the future. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to keep happening the next 7 weeks. I think the only thing that's stable is this trend of the strong 6K running back, and that's fine. But if you can build a lineup with lower owned plays around it, and those lower owned plays start actually, hitting. I mean, yeah. So I'm not changing anything. I think that are you more willing to eat the chalk in tournaments at running back with this trend, or I think probably you are, right? I mean, that is the one thing that's changing, I suppose.
yeah, I mean, you and I are similar players. I mean, I play more cash than you, but I think like in terms of like
Yeah.
the contests we play or like the tournaments we play, I think that we're
Yeah.
similar type players. So I've always kind of been like I'll play like chalkier running backs and not care,
Hmm.
and then I'll try and get like
Yep.
some low owned receivers and stuff. So that really nothing has changed for me.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of see it this week, even though like these guys are starting to creep up a little bit, right? I mean, you still have Damian Pierce, which we'll get into when we get at running back, but Kamara's mid
Hmm.
sevens. ETN is cheap, but still he's over 7K.
Jacobs
Barkley's
mid
up there at
sevens.
86.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jacobs in mid sevens. So you can start to see a change a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, whether or not we have more cheap running backs open up, after this video comes out and stuff, we'll have to wait and
Hmm.
see. But yeah, okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit. I think that was helpful for the people listening as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all right, let's dive in here. We're gonna go through the positions. If you guys are new here, if you are new or not, like the video. It does help us out. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notifications bell to know when these videos are posted. Starting off at quarterback, man. This
Hmm.
is a rough. I mean, only 10 games, not a ton of good games. This is a tough quarterback slate here. So last week, Justin Fields ended up obviously being, super chalky in cash. He ended up coming in over 50%, I think, in cash games. Tournaments, he still was like, 15 to 20, which is kind of what's always going to happen, right? Like you're never going to get a super super chalky quarterback in tournaments. But this week, again, it kind of looks like it's coming down to Fields and Mahomes for like a cash build. I don't know really how you would get to Mahomes as of right now over Fields. But it's like the nut spot, right? I mean, he's against Detroit. They're not. It's bad defense. He's running the ball like way more than he was early in the season. So I think those are like
Yeah.
the two obvious plays. So what are you doing with those two? Is there anyone that you feel strongly about for tournaments? Like, do you see yourself playing Fields? I mean, I'm probably gonna play. I mean, Fields was good to me last week, so I'm gonna probably be loyal. I'll probably be
Yeah.
playing Fields a
Yeah.
lot again this week as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, God, it's just so hard to fade. It's similar to 3 weeks ago when DJ Moore crushed as chalk, and then the very next week he got to face an Atlanta team in a dome, giving up the most pass yards per game, and they lost both of their corners. And it's like, well, you probably have to play him again. And then of course he got there late in the game with a nice Hail Mary type of play. So yeah, I mean, I think you have to go there. I mean, like Detroit's so bad. They have no contain on the outside, so when he gets to running, and then again, this is a dome team playing outdoors in Chicago. I just think he can do whatever he wants. I mean, I think the most important thing is if you think about the concept of schedule adjusted fantasy performance. I mean, dude, he's this 3-4 game run he's on is it's unreal. And two of those games were against Dallas and New England, both on the road. Like those are legit awesome defenses, both top 10 in the league in points given up, and the best pass rush in Dallas, and going to Bill Belichick's house and going against it. I mean, he's been doing it against real teams, and now he gets the Lions, which are so brutal. So he's actually throwing deep balls at the highest rate in the league as far as a percentage of his passes. And Detroit loves to give up the deep ball. His most common deep ball target, of course, is Darnell Mooney. We'll talk about him when we get to receiver. I think that could be a spot that has a lot of upside. So yeah, it's going to be really hard to get away from him. I will be looking, of course, to some Mahomes teams. When they're passing this much, they're basically passing instead of running. Like we were talking before the pod, like it's kind of like Josh Allen West now. I mean, it's just nasty, man. Like he threw to Juju so many times last week, almost like on first down, like as a run. Like they'll just throw it to him 3-4 yards up the field, see if he can fall forward for 7 or 8. So when they're, I mean, he threw it 68 times. I think it's the third most in NFL history. I mean, you got to love that. I like the other side of the game. Trevor Lawrence has not had, has he had any games with more than one passing touchdown? Yeah, a couple. I mean, but not in the last, like 5 or 6 in a row. But you can get there with his legs too. I mean, we saw him rush for 53 yards last week. The KC team is not a team that you're worried about. They're facing the 3rd most pass attempts per game, and that includes going up against Tennessee last week, obviously, where there was just like no pass attempts at all thrown. So I think that you can look to T-Law. He actually is nice and cheap. I mean, he's 5,400. That is a meaningful discount, even off of Fields at 65. But like honestly, dude, outside of Patty, Fields, T-Law, I mean, I could be convinced to play Tua in between those. But what are you looking at?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So before I get into the quarterbacks I like, and then we can move on. But what are you doing with the Browns Dolphins game? So this is kind of the one game I haven't been able to get much of a read on it. I mean, it has one of the better over unders on the week. You would think, just because of how Miami has been, like you would think this is a game that you want to target, right?
Yeah.
Like if they can speed up that Bears team, like you feel pretty confident in. And actually, you know what? I don't even really know if they sped up the Bears team because I think it was more of just a result of Fields like doing what he was doing. But regardless, that's been a team that we've wanted to target. I haven't been able to get a read on that game. So what's your thoughts on that game before I get into my quarterbacks? Because I haven't been able. I feel like people are going to play it because of the Dolphins and then also just the lack of other games on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, so Miami's shown to speed up games through their big plays. That's something that we see in just a couple offenses each year, but that's a big thing. They're passing at they're 6th right now at a situation neutral pass rate. And again, they have the big play, so they are speeding up games. They're definitely passing at a high rate. We're seeing that Cleveland, if they have to, they are passing. I mean, they want to run the ball, of course. But they are happy to pass if they need to. I saw like the craziest stat today that they are running a lot more 11 personnel, and they're running out of 11 personnel more, which is nice. It's lighter boxes, for Chubb, and Chubb is averaging like 7.7 yards per carry out of 11 personnel, which is like more than most quarterbacks are passing as far as yards per play out of 11 personnel. I mean, so they have the ability to make big plays as well. I think I'm not worried at all about that game as far as pace. It's actually projected to be one of the top 3 or top 4 games of the week for pace. I love the game. I think that there's just awesome weapons on each side. We'll talk about them probably when we get to the positional breakdowns. But yeah, I definitely like that game for sure.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you could definitely throw Tua in your quarterback pool. I mean, he'll probably be up there with I would guess like maybe like the 3rd highest owned guy as of now. But yeah, I guess like I want to get cheap at quarterback. If I'm going off the board and I'm not going to play Fields or one of these other guys, I probably want to get pretty cheap. Trevor Lawrence, definitely, I think you could talk me into just with that game. And then the other one, it's gross, but maybe a little Daniel Jones. I mean, at least he runs the ball. And I think that, I guess I don't know. What is, let's see, let me see what we have Saquon at right now. Yeah, we have him around 24% owned. So, maybe get a little bit of leverage off of Saquon, play Jones, and then not use Saquon. He runs a lot,
Yeah, his
man. Like
weapons are tough though, right? He does
yeah,
run, but his weapons, man, it's like,
yeah, they're
Wiggins.
horrific. They're horrific.
Yeah,
But
that's my
I
only.
kind of view him like he's kind of like a
Don't say it.
cheaper. He is kind of like a
Don't say
cheaper.
it.
Do you know what I'm gonna say? He
Yeah,
is
you know.
kind of like
Say
Justin
Josh
Fields.
Allen.
No,
Oh, Justin Fields.
yeah, he's like a cheaper Justin Fields because
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think for tournaments, I think he's in play. I have no idea what I'm gonna play as of now, but I will probably consider him a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I bet you won't play him. I bet you'll probably play T-Law. I just think, man, I
Oh,
just
dude,
think that.
I had a nice team with Mixon and Devontae last week, and it was Trevor Lawrence, and it's just
Mm,
like, yeah,
I
so
know.
tilting.
Yeah. Well, there happened to be two rushing touchdowns that week, with ETN,
Yeah,
and I think on the road in Arrowhead, like, which by the way, like Arrowhead's not even been a tough place to play. They're 0-4 against the spread at home this year, and just like, yeah, I think Jacksonville could totally be in that game.
yeah, yeah. I agree, honestly. All right. I mean, you guys know we have free content on the site dfskarma.com. You'll be able to get my player pool in my article that comes out Friday nights. Is there anyone? I mean, I don't think Stafford's gonna play, so that takes him out, and then that game is just kind of gross, anyways. Is there
Mhm.
anyone else? I mean,
There's not much,
could
dude.
you
There's,
could you
there's,
do a little Case Keenum? Because Josh Allen's not gonna play, so
I mean, at 5K, so like Case Keenum, awesome weapons, pretty good matchup.
the opposite of
400
Daniel
less
Jones
than
doesn't run
yeah,
but has
yeah,
great
I know.
weapons.
But he's 400 less than than Lawrence. Gosh,
Okay,
I don't know.
am I?
Maybe.
I kind of feel like I don't know. I might feel better about playing Keenum than I would Trevor Lawrence. Is this bad?
Mm,
I don't know. This could be recency bias
no.
because I've been burned by Trevor Lawrence like twice. Like had really good teams and
Yeah,
he
I
just
know.
screws them over. Like this has happened twice this season. So maybe I'm just mad
Gosh,
at Trevor Lawrence.
Keenum, man. I mean, he's been serviceable for a long time. What didn't he go like Houston? He was a like college quarterback who threw it like a million times a
Yeah,
game. Like
yeah. And
he
then
can
like
chuck. I mean,
well, that's what I'm thinking. Like I feel like they won't run really much of a different offense. Like they're not going to be calling designed runs obviously for him, but they throw the ball a lot, and they're probably just going to keep throwing the ball a lot. Like I don't think that's going to stop.
yeah.
Um,
No, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the
and he's
problem is
happy to throw
like
a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
the problem is like Daniel Jones could have like a Fields game, like throw for 180 yards, but still have a good fantasy day if he runs one in and like has rushing yards. But Case Keenum, like you're gonna have to run hot on touchdowns for him to like have a good game.
Yeah, you definitely are, which is possible. I mean, Minnesota is not a good pass
It
defense
definitely
at
is.
all.
And I'm kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I was on the Minnesota train, but looking at some of like their advanced stuff, like it seems like they've been just pretty like lucky, I would say. Not that they're a bad team because their division's bad,
yeah.
but
Just outperforming
yeah,
expectations. Yeah,
I think they definitely are. So I guess that's something to monitor. But well, we'll move on to running back here. So running back, I think cash pool as of right now. Damian Pierce 6,300, just too cheap. Alvin Kamara at 74. Given his role there with like Michael Thomas out, and then you have like the Jacobs, Henry, Barkley group, and then ETN. Like that's, I think all those guys
Mhm.
are going to be in consideration. You're probably picking two or three of them. Pierce is going to be, I think, the highest owned for sure, just because of his price. Um, what do you
Mhm.
think on that group of chalk guys? Who do you like the most? Are there any that you're fading? I think if I was fading one of those guys, God, probably Jacobs, I guess, if I had to pick one to not play. But I guess
Yeah,
it's kind of price dependent because it's gonna be tough to get like Henry or Barkley in it just because of their price tags.
yeah. Jacobs is tough, man. Like, because Indy is actually a really good run defense, but they're facing the most opponent carries per game just because they're down so much. And now they have Ellinger going on the road, so it's totally possible that they just give up a ton of carries.
That
We've
could
also
be like the
seen
grossest
Vegas
game
put
with like this
both Walker.
like Jeff
I know.
Saturday thing, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, this could just be the worst game. He's talking
yeah.
about like kicking field goals,
It could be.
running the ball up the middle, all this stuff. It's just like God.
Yeah, that could be tough. But yeah, they put Walker and Renfro on the IR today, so it's certainly kind of condenses the weapons around Jacobs and Devontae and big Mac Hollins. We like that. We like to get excited over Mac here. Certainly Foster Moreau. So, I mean, yeah, I could see Jacobs. I mean, dude, if you think about Jacobs is kind of a similar play as Mixon last week. Like recently, not the best efficiency, definitely way more talented and better than Mixon. Um, and big home favorites against a team that's going to struggle. Like you could just get lucky. I mean, look, last week, people got lucky with Mixon. I mean, that's everyone would admit that. Certainly, you would as well. Like that type of run out is just a dream. To what did he have 5 touchdowns? I mean, something disgusting like that.
Yeah, that
So
was the luckiest thing I've ever like got in my life.
yeah, it's
Like
just an
ever.
incredible run out. Yeah, yeah. I mean, but like, dude, in the big home favorites is like a paramount thing in DFS. I mean, that's something that should never be ignored. For as bad as Mixon was this year, efficiency wise, and he's been really bad. It was still a great situation for him, and things went his way. I mean, this you could say the same thing for Jacobs this week. I like Dameon Pierce. Oddly enough, he had no catches against Philly last week. The previous 4 games, he averaged 4 catches a game. Never for much yards or production, but still, if you can have a 4 game or a 4 catch floor going up against this really bad run defense in Giants. And yeah, Giants are coming off bye week rest. Houston has the kind of mini bye 10-day rest. I definitely like Dameon Pierce. I love Saquon on the other side. People were falling all over themselves to play Jacobs at home off bye week rest against Houston. 4 weeks ago, and he absolutely killed it. Well, now we have Saquon at home, big favorite on bye week rest against Houston. I think that if you're playing more than 1 or 2 lineups, you should absolutely have a Barkley spend up lineup. So I was like Barkley. I'm pretty high on ETN. I do think that we can see some more pass game work out of him. He's getting like 27, 28 touches. They're absolutely totally committed to him. I was shocked on the James Robinson move. Just a total commitment move like that to a young guy like ETN was incredible. And then, of course, you see nothing but 1,000,000 touches every game since then. Chiefs are giving up the most receiving points per game to enemy running backs in the league. I do think that he could be elevated. We saw what he did in college with Lawrence, catching those easy swing passes out of the backfield. Again, Chiefs are giving up the most in the league. They love to give it to him in the red zone, as we saw last week. Certainly on any lineups that I don't play Lawrence, you got to look at ETN. He looks like he's going to be high owned, but nothing like crazy. I think that Dameon Pierce is way up there. Other than that, my big kind of interesting play of the week is Jeff Wilson Jr. If you look at all the snap info and usage as the game went on last week, it just kept going more and more to Jeff Wilson Jr. He had way better production running and catching than Mostert. Doesn't mean that Mostert he could have just had a down game, and we know that Cleveland's not great against the run. So certainly there could be some efficiency for Mostert, but I don't know, man. Jeff Wilson knows his offense. He was obviously in San Fran with McDaniel. He wanted his guy at home against a bad run defense in Cleveland. I think you could see kind of a nice run out for Wilson. He looked good last week. I don't know if you saw, but he looked really good. So those are my main guys.
Yeah, I like the Jeff Wilson call a lot. I do think he's kind of gonna be like the guy as the season goes down for them. Not that Mostert won't be involved at all, but
Yeah,
I don't think I think that they made that move like for him to be kind of
yeah. They don't want to give Mostert the ball in the red zone, man. Like Jeff
yeah.
Wilson's more the bruiser. Like
Hmm.
I think he's gonna get the money touches. I really do.
Yeah, yeah. I like that call a lot for tournaments. Kind of agree. Saquon, I think is like the best play in the slate in a vacuum for sure. Over
Yeah,
Henry. Like if I was picking one of them, I'm picking Saquon. Like Houston's run defense is like it's like the worst run defense I've ever seen. Um,
yeah.
like if you
It's
actually
insane.
just like just watch them, it's like insane. Like I don't know
Yeah,
how they can just be that bad, but they are.
yeah.
So I'm with you on that. Uh, I don't know. What are you doing with Kamara? You never. I feel like you don't play Kamara much though.
No, not
That's
really.
not your
Yeah,
guy.
and um, yeah. I mean, God, I hate to ask him. Is Ingram gonna play this week?
I think he's out for
Really?
like
Okay.
a couple weeks.
I mean, that helps.
Yeah, it
That
does.
helps.
And I
Taysom's
was kind
still
of
in, but
thinking, well, I was kind of thinking that with no Ingram, they were going to get Taysom more involved, and
mhm.
he was like not that was like season low usage for Taysom Hill. I don't know if there's a reason for that, but that was season low usage. He had one carry. Crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think Pittsburgh on the road in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's coming off bye week rest,
I
and
think they're getting TJ Watt back, right? I think. I'm like
I
99% sure. I'm 99% they're getting
that's
TJ Watt back, which is really, really
yeah. I
big.
read that on Monday that yeah, they're optimistic about him coming
Yeah.
back.
So
But
that's like
so
Pittsburgh's
yeah,
defense is like that's like the most extreme splits in the league is like him off
exactly
and then him on. So
yeah.
that's like a really
And
big.
plus, and plus, their splits are pretty strong for against the pass versus against the run. Like
Yeah.
they're brutal against the pass, dude.
Hmm.
They're really really bad. But they're top 10 DVOA against the rush. So I just think that, and we'll talk about Olave. I'm excited about him. So yeah, I'm yet again I'm probably not playing Kamara.
I don't hate that though. I think like I might end up playing him in cash, but like I could see playing like other guys over him like on my tournament teams. So I actually don't hate that this week.
Do you think he'll be a popular cash
I
running back?
think
Probably.
I think I think him and Pierce will be like the chalk cash running backs as of right now. I
Okay,
think.
we got to see how the slate, how the
Yeah,
yeah, how
things
the
could
builds
change.
happen.
God, I
But
mean, like, dude, we could do this now and then it's completely different.
yeah,
But I think as of now, that's how it looks. Jalen Warren, I want to bring up just because he's 4,900. It kind of sounds like he's taken over for Najee Harris. Najee Harris,
yeah,
he's just not good.
yeah.
How egregious is
I
it that
don't
they
hate it.
drafted him? I mean, people roast the Chiefs for taking Clyde in the first round, but I mean, dude, they took
Yeah,
took Najee
I
Harris.
don't hate
The
that.
Chiefs were coming
Yeah,
off
if you,
a Super Bowl, you know? I mean, this team is not
right,
good. They're wasting first round picks on running backs.
right, yeah, exactly.
But what's your thoughts on Warren 49? If even more like if more reports come out like he's gonna like be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is. I mean, I do think
Yeah,
he is going to
he's
be the
definitely
guy.
better.
I don't mind it. I think I find myself, playing him if truly my build has like 4,900 left. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think I'm starting a lot of lineups with him, but I'm definitely not going to be shy. I'm not going to shy away from saying, oh yeah, I'll make this a warm lineup if it happens to be that I'm kind of floating around that low 5K, high 4K range left. That's kind of how I'll treat it. Yeah, I won't take him out of the pool.
Yeah, he's definitely in my pool. We'll wait and see on the weekend if anything else opens up. Last guy
Yeah,
before we go to wide receiver here. What are are you playing any Aaron Jones? Can you tilt Aaron Jones this week after what he did
nah, he
last week?
sucks. Nope, he sucks.
I don't think
I'm,
he
I'm
sucks. I
like,
think it's like
yeah,
it's a timeshare. That's just what it is. What it is.
no, he sucks. I think I might play Pollard even if Zeke plays. I think
Oh
that
yeah,
could be
we
really
should
sharp.
talk about that. It seems like
Yeah,
maybe like
he's gonna play
50-50.
it.
Yeah, I could
Yeah,
definitely think he'll play, but no, you can play
yeah.
Pollard. I think in tournaments. I think there's
Oh
no
yeah,
difference. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive, but there's no difference between that and like a Jeff Wilson Jr. play. I don't think.
yep, yeah. It's a little more expensive. I think Pollard's 6,500, but yeah. I mean, it's a great matchup. I mean, Green Bay's 31st DVO against a run. I mean, they're just a bad team right now, man.
Yeah,
It's
they're
really
they're
really
really
rough.
banged up on defense too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
we'll see.
call. I definitely like that. All right, moving on to receiver. I don't know. I mean, where do you think it's really tough for me to like talk about the cash pool of receiver right now because I don't know like if any
Hmm.
more value is opening up. I think Amon Ra is always going to get ownership because of where he's priced and how he's going to project, and so many people
Hmm.
use projections when they're building teams now. So I would say he's going to be
Yep.
pretty chalky. Zay Jones was popping as like one of the highest owned receivers on
He
Wednesday last
always
week.
is, and then he
Yeah,
never
but
is.
then he's
Like,
not, right? So I think as of now, he's in there. Christian Kirk, Donovan Peoples Jones, Rondale at 52. Like I think those guys are going to get some
yeah,
ownership. You
I
could
think
throw
Rondale's a good play, man.
yeah, you
Yeah.
could throw Juju in as well, maybe. We'll wait and see.
Yeah,
But
Juju. I mean, yeah. Look to the popular games, and you'll start to be able to sniff out
yeah,
kind of what people are
but
going
it's
to play. Yeah.
I mean, guys like Tyreek are gonna project well and project for high ownership. But how can
Mhm.
you like if you're building a true cash lineup right now? I don't see how you can fit a $9,100 Tyreek in your lineup. Like you can't. And Tyreek was not high owned last
Right.
week. he was pretty low owned because I had him in my
Hmm.
lineup that did good. So
Yeah, and
um,
Chicago's secondary is really bad. Yeah.
yeah, it is. All right, so where do you go to receiver? Do you like any of those chalkier guys, or like do you have anyone that just stands out? Because I think that like I don't know this week even more so than others. Like it's gonna come down to like your stacks or like just how you're building your team. To what you can do at receiver. I don't know. This is like such a weird week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean well, it's weird because it doesn't seem like there's massive talk at receiver right off the rip. I mean, that's just kind of how this year's been. I think, yeah, I think that Amon-Ra. I mean, look, of course, I finally played him last week. I get smoked. He
You
does
got
nothing.
you finally got on the train
That's
and you
great.
just like
Yeah, I'm like, hey, he's in my main lineup. You're like, let's go. I'm like,
uh,
yeah, and then he gets like,
does
shit.
nothing.
But I mean, yeah, he's being targeted at the second highest rate, only behind Tyreek, in the whole league, targets per route run. Again, Chicago's not a good secondary. If we believe that Fields is going to put up numbers and have a good day, certainly Detroit has to push back. He's all they have. I get the path there. The problem is he's like, I think 97th or 98th in the league in his average depth of target. I mean, it's rough, man. Like he's not seeing any deep shots. I like some deep looks, from my wide receivers, especially in GPPs. He's just not getting them. Sure, he could bust one across the middle and take it to the house, but like that's my one downside. It's like 6,900 for kind of I don't want to say low upside receiver. He definitely has a ceiling, but for just a low A dot guy,
I don't know, man. I'm
6,900.
I'm a big fan of his, but I don't know really right now with how they're using him. I don't know if he has that ceiling
Yeah, doesn't
unless
seem like that.
he has to score 2 touchdowns to have the ceiling,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
unfortunate for me to say, but I do think that's how it currently stands.
yeah. So as far as guys I like Juju. Like I said, they're kind of using him as like almost like a run game um, substitution almost. I mean, it's just like it's crazy. It's those quick hitters. Last week he had most catches of the year. I mean, so he's strong. He's not cheap though. I definitely don't mind Christian Kirk on the other side. Chiefs are going with the most production to slot receivers. I just there's going to be looks for Christian Kirk. Leads the team and everything. Red zone looks, catches, targets, everything. Um, I wouldn't be really comfortable playing both Kirk and ETN. I think they kind of fight for each other. Fight against each other as far as their red zone opportunities. Kirk is way up. I think he's second in the league in targets inside the 10. I mean, but it's kind of either one. You're either getting the ETN touchdowns or you're getting the Kirk touchdowns. So I actually really like Olave this week. Pittsburgh's given up the most points per game to opposing wide receiver ones. I just think that, again, that's kind of like the only game in town, but he actually does get deep looks. So he's kind of like an Amon-Ra play, but he gets a lot of deep looks. I don't know that, is Goff even notably better than, well, I want to make sure. Do we know who's starting for Saints? I mean, is it still Dalton for sure? I think it is.
Yeah, I think it's still Dalton. I guess I haven't like
Okay.
actually looked, but to my
Yeah, but
knowledge,
like,
coming into this week, it was Dalton still.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's still Dalton. But like, is Goff way better than Dalton? Probably not. Not really. So I think Olave is a good play. Yeah, Landry might finally play, but like there's still no Michael Thomas, and I mean it's just it's kind of just it's all him. I mean, yeah, there's certainly there's Kamara there, but as far as guys are actually in my pool, yeah, Olave, Kirks, Schuster. I guess I'm Darnell Mooney. I already meant. I think I already alluded to that. I think I already wrote that down in the quarterback. But yeah, obviously, Fields loves to throw deep. Team lead in deep targets is Mooney. Detroit can give it up deep. Maybe my favorite receiver player of the week though is Amari Cooper, which I'm sure AC is just like loving it if he hears this. But dude, his splits are bad for home and road. That's what everyone's talking about. Like he's got these crazy home and road
Yeah,
splits, like all his
I feel
touchdowns
like
are at
I've
home.
manifested that. I was tweeting Mari
Yeah,
Cooper scores at home every game, and then he
okay,
did. Yeah, I think
exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
on that train, but
exactly. But dude, where's he going on the road? He's going home to Miami. We're born and
yes,
raised,
home away
went to
from
high school
home.
there. Exactly. You get the friends and family narrative going there. So I mean,
Nice.
but then there's also this weird thing how it's like 25 degrees warmer on the visitor side than it is on the home team side, which is like I don't know how Miami's getting away with this, dude. Like they're like just baking their opponents,
I feel
man.
like I never heard about that until this year.
until this year, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
like
where
how is
has
that never
people
talked
been?
about?
Why has no one talked
You
about this
said,
for the last like years?
dude, like the thermometer was like,
Yeah,
wasn't it
I
something
saw. I
like
saw that.
110?
Yeah, it's
Like
literally like
that's like
35 degrees cooler on
like
the Dolphins
call the
sideline.
police, man. Like I don't know. Like I'd call the cops. Like, dude, that's 120 here. Like this is like they're attacking us. But I don't know, whatever. Anyways, the matchup is so good. Like, dude, Miami is so bad in the secondary. Amari Cooper has torched Xavier Howard over his career. Miami blitzes at the fourth highest rate in the league, and Amari is second in the league in yards per route run against the blitz, only behind Tyreek Hill. He's also got the number one targets in the league against man coverage. So Miami runs man coverage at the second highest rate in the league, and Amari is the number one targeted receiver in the league against man coverage. I just think that it sets up so nicely for him. They're going to have to throw. And again, who else is there? Like no one. Maybe Njoku comes back. Yeah, maybe DPJ, but DPJ is like you're hoping for like a 4 for 80 type of game. Maybe he gets in the box, maybe he doesn't. But like that offense, from a passing perspective, runs through Amari. I just think it's an awesome spot for him.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. Love Amari this week. I was gonna bring up just eats man coverage, and like
Mhm.
I take mental notes of teams that play a lot of man coverage because I feel like that's more rare in today's NFL. So many teams
Yep.
play zone defense now. So I do take notes of teams that play heavy
Yeah.
man defense because it does come in handy a lot for
Mhm.
receivers. So really good spot for Amari. I like that. Love Juju again. Um, I love like maybe like not stacking that game to save money, but then like Juju Kirk minis. I
Mhm.
like Tony
Yep.
too. Like if Hardman doesn't play, like we'll probably know more later on in the week about that. But it does kind of look like Hardman is up in the air. And then another
Mhm.
mini, I like Olave, but I like George Pickens this week. So maybe
Yeah,
Olave
me
and
too.
Pickens together, I think is really
I
good.
ooh, I like that. Ooh,
Yeah, and
Ben,
then you
that's
don't
nice.
don't don't have to play Kamara then.
Yeah, and dude,
Yeah,
rookies coming off bye weeks, there's like a
yeah, that's what.
long
And
history.
it's like the double because Pickett was kind of
Yep,
thrust in on like a short week.
Pickett
Now
and
he had
Pickens.
the whole week. The Steelers are one
Yep,
of those teams like the Chiefs, like just notoriously good off their bye
yep,
week.
yep.
Bad
Tomlin's good.
secondary
Yep,
that we like to target. So yeah, I really like
I
Pickett and
like that
Olave.
idea.
Yeah,
That's really nice. That's a really good idea.
yeah, yeah.
Running
George
that yeah,
Pickens.
that
He's only
Pickett and Olave.
5K.
Hmm.
And there's just no way that he gets like owned that much. So
Yeah, yeah. Another kind of man versus zone thing to sneak out is that Rondale Moore is way more
hmm
relevant against zone defense. I mean, he's the zone beater,
yeah,
and no one runs more zone than the Rams. So you kind of have that thing where he's like near the top of the league for his target rate against zone. Playing a team that plays most zone, it's very similar to Amari, number one targeted man coverage, playing against the second most man coverage defense. I mean, I think those are the type of things that not a lot of casuals sniff out, but I think it could be really good spots.
yeah. I'm with you. I think that doesn't. I was just gonna say on Mooney too. Like I played him last week. He obviously got the price hike, but he's top 10 on the slate in target share. Like we know, like Fields doesn't throw the ball a ton,
Yeah,
but when he does, he throws it a
I like
lot.
it.
We'll see we'll see how Claypool affects that because they haven't had that guy like that. But just
I
coming
got
on the
one more.
team,
Yeah.
I think it's a good spot for Mooney as well. But yeah. What's the other one?
I do have one more Jerry Judy. I know it's like gross because like
Okay,
Russ,
okay.
but dude, like Tennessee secondary is
It's not
so
good,
bad.
not good.
Yeah, and now we see that. Was I reading that Hamler's like probably not going to play? I mean, that's not that impactful, but he's been getting 3, 4, 5 targets a game, and I thought it was something pretty bad. Oh yeah, a speed guy with a hammy didn't practice all week so far. I mean, I think that Judy now passed Sutton for the most deep targets on the team.
hmm
Russ is throwing deep targets at the top 3 rate in the league still, and Tennessee is so bad. And I think that Judy, he's priced there right next to Sutton, but Sutton's been a dust ball,
hmm
and I think that no one's going to play Judy, but certainly everything's lining up for him to make some big plays. I think that I for sure will have at least one lineup with Judy in it.
Okay, so before we move on, tight end, are you gonna like try and get Henry with him, or is this just like a one-off, like you're gonna put on your team?
One off.
Okay,
Nope, one off. Yep.
all right. Tight end. I think the big conversation here. So how I think tight end will work. I think cash games people will be looking at Foster Moreau and like Greg Dulcich type tier. Foster's been just Foster's role when Waller's out is so good. He runs so many routes, and you just know he's going to be on the field, and you've seen him have success like in that role before, and he's been massive chalk the last few weeks. And then now like that's with like news coming late that Waller's out. Like now we already know in the middle of the week that Waller's not going to play. So people will be playing those guys in cash. I think the big conversation here is like what you do with Travis Kelce. I agree with what you said to Sam earlier, like in our group chat, that like Kelce really isn't tight end. So like if you play two tight end with Kelce, like that's really not playing two tight end, because Kelce is pretty much a receiver. So, are you playing Kelce? Like, is that going to be like your main team, or what are you doing at tight end?
Man, that's a big question, because if you choose Kelsey for your main team,
I think that's the question like of the slate, to be honest, if you're building teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of like, man, he's gone like 4 games, I think, now without a tutty. He was targeted like 17 times last week. Like, I mean, yeah, Patty threw it, 68 times, but yes, it's got 1, 2, 3 or 4 games without a touchdown. Jacksonville's 32nd dead last DVOA against tight ends. And if there's no Hardman's been getting a lot of the red zone kind of gadgety plays. I think it just goes right back to Kelce. I'll say this: if no Hardman, I'll be like massively in on Kelce. If Hardman's in, I'll not as much. So yeah, I'm definitely going to play him no matter what. But I think that now that we're talking through it, if no Hardman, I'll be way higher on it. Foster Moreau, I mean, I wouldn't really be on him because I mean, as I love to say, he just doesn't do anything. I mean, yeah, he's running routes on like 90%.
I feel like any cheap tight end chalk, you can just not play. Yeah, just don't play in tournaments.
Dude, Dulcich is going to be like maybe the most owned though, which I get it. He's actually done stuff the last few weeks, and he's an exciting like upside guy. But it's like, I wouldn't. If he's chalky, no way. I mean, it's the easiest fade of all time.
I would say give me Tunyon over Foster and Dulcich like every single time. Like,
yeah, I think Dalton Schultz, he's a little bit higher than those guys. But Dalton Schultz, man, ever since Dak came back, like his target rates, really up there. Green Bay is nothing to be afraid of. I think that Schultz could be something kind of maybe sneaky, but I think that could be interesting. 3,800. Freiermuth still now with no Claypool. Certainly that could be someone that could get increased looks against Saints, who aren't great against tight end. I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of it's like you either play Kelce or you're kind of like looking around that low 3K range and trying not to land on the absolute chalk. I think is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. New Orleans is like really good at tight end coverage, which is like another reason why I like Pickens so much this week. But I don't know. Freiermuth is just like.
Oh yeah, you're right. They're
like number one. Yeah, they're number one. They're so good against tight ends. So I think that's another reason why I like Pickens. But I pretty much agree with what you said. Kelce. Okay, so my question I really like Tunyon. Like that's like my guy for tournaments. I think this week, if I'm not playing Kelce.
Okay. What's the situation there? So Watson will play, right? Like he's out of the protocol. He's fine.
Yeah, which obviously I don't know how, but whatever.
I know.
Dobbs is out. Watson,
Cobb
I think, is going to play. I think Watkins was back at practice, but Lazard is going to be on Diggs, man. And I'm just like, Diggs is legitimately. He was like lucky last year, and he would just gamble and get picks. He's actually been like really good this year, so I kind of respect that.
And isn't Lazard the type of guy Diggs can really cover like more easily than like a super shifty guy? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
interesting. Yeah. I mean,
I like Tunyon a little bit. And Rodgers has not been good, right? I mean, there's just no way around it. He hasn't. But they're throwing the ball a lot. And I mean, dude, you feel like at some point when they're throwing the ball so much, like he'll have a game where he can throw 3 touchdowns. Even if he doesn't smash fantasy-wise, like he's going to have a week where he throws 3 touchdowns probably at some point.
They're number 5 in the league for red zone pass rate.
Yeah. Like they throw the fact that they throw the ball as much as they do and didn't do like anything last week
Yeah,
is just
I know,
it's
dude.
absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
never mind.
I didn't have
Yeah,
any like Rodgers or anything, so I thought it was funny, but I would have been losing my mind
yeah,
if I played
yeah,
him.
it's
But
rough.
my question to you, if you're not using Mahomes, would you still play Kelsey and like Juju together, or it's just one or the other?
Oh, that's interesting. You put that. Yeah. So yeah, man. I posed it to you. That's so when I posed this question to you, that's what I was doing. I said, hey, is there any like meaningful percentage of the time that somehow Fields underperforms against Mahomes on a point per dollar basis?
Hmm.
And you're like, nah, like not really, probably not. Which is I asked that because I was doing a build with Fields, but
Yeah.
then Kelsey and Juju.
Yeah, I think it's in play. I think
Yeah,
it's important to
I
like
do.
think of the like contests you play as well. Like, I probably wouldn't
Hmm.
do that in like the Millie Maker because
No, 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 no.
you know if Kelsey
You need
and
max
Juju are
outcome.
both going off, then Mahomes is
Hmm.
like going off. So
Right.
yeah,
No,
but
you're
if
just
you're talking
yeah.
about the stuff that you and I play, we're talking about like 500 people and less, 300 people and
Hmm.
less contests. I think it's
Yep.
certainly in play, and it is something I'll probably consider doing for sure.
Yeah, and tight end is the most sensitive out of all the position groups to as far as performance correlation with team total.
Hmm.
So, I mean, dude, Casey's far and away the highest. They have a 30-point team total,
Yeah.
and they're facing the team dead last DVOA against a tight end. I think that Kelsey might be just really tough to avoid. Again,
Yeah.
he'll be almost a lock if there's no Hardman, which is so weird to say. But like, dude, the last few weeks, like Hardman's just getting all those interesting red zone, money looks.
Yeah,
So
that's an
I do
underrated
think,
note. If Hardman's out,
yeah,
I do think that helps. I do think
yeah,
that helps
for
Kelsey.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
All right. I mean, I think we covered things pretty well. Before we get out, we'll talk about our teams a little bit, and then we'll give some bold calls. As of now, I don't know. I'm planning on playing three teams and then like my cashing this week, going into the week. So that's kind of where I think I'm gonna be at. As far as the stacks, I definitely want some Chiefs. I definitely want one of the like the Dolphins Browns game, and then maybe just like an off the wall one. Maybe something really, dude. Is it too gross to play Kenny Pickett? Is that just completely out of play? Well, I feel like we've been
No,
targeting
dude,
quarterbacks
New
against the
Orleans,
secondary, right?
yes. Well,
Off
and
the
plus
bye
New Orleans,
week.
yep. New Orleans has been an elevator for opposing quarterback. Look what Geno Smith did to them
Yeah,
at New Orleans. I mean, yeah, it's not too gross. What's his price? I don't even know his price.
he is
I'm glad I don't. But what's his price?
5,100 on DraftKings. So I
Yeah,
would definitely
sure.
prefer him to Keenum if we're having that
Yeah,
combo.
good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll probably do something like that. Maybe I don't know. Definitely have a
Hmm.
Browns Dolphins team, and then probably some Chiefs, and then maybe off the board. But where are you looking right now for like your stacks, or what do you think you're gonna be playing?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it's not interesting to talk about like, Mahomes or Lawrence stuff or, Justin Fields stuff. So I think one that I will have that I think is maybe it's not that low owned, but I do think I'm going to go Tua, Hill, Wilson, try to, soak up all
Okay.
the potential touchdown
Yeah.
with a run back of course, Amari. So I think that if you went Tua, Hill, Wilson, Amari, none of those guys in and of themselves are going to be low owned, but I think that stack is definitely going to be low, and especially for the contest that I'm playing in,
Yeah.
the
Well,
higher dollar.
any percentage of people playing Tua, Hill, Cooper are not going to have Wilson on their team. So
Yep, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
you
So,
automatically
and I'm
get
never afraid to do that. Like
yeah,
you're building a GPP, man. Like
for
it's
sure.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I
yep.
don't hate that. All right, bold calls. Oh boy. I'm gonna go George Pickens scores 2 touchdowns for mine because I've kind of talked about him a lot and I feel good about him.
Like that.
So
Yeah,
Matt,
I love this Olave Pickens.
dude, I'm so in. I'm gonna put that
Yeah,
on
I'm
probably on
in.
my main team as of now. But all right,
I'm
what's
in
your
for
bold
that for
call?
sure. Okay, I was gonna say something about Barkley because I think that like it shouldn't be bold, but I think he's kind of gonna get overlooked. But like, why couldn't he go for like a 40 bomb, against his Houston
Yeah,
run defense? I think that's
Josh
absolutely
Jacobs did it. So
yeah, man. Let's do all right. Let's do a little bit more bold. Well, assuming Kyler plays, let's say Rondell eclipses 30 DK points.
nice. I like that. I'll have a lot of Rondale, so this is good. I hope that
Like it.
happens. But thank you guys for watching. We do appreciate, like I said at this top, like the video. Go follow Matt on Twitter. I don't know if he cares about like Twitter followers, but go show him some love
I don't.
because He does
Yep.
come on these podcasts out of the goodness of his heart. He's very sharp, and we appreciate him. Get in
Love
the
the game.
Discord, dfskarma.com/chat. You can talk to Matt and myself. You won't be able to see the premium channels unless you're a subscriber, but you can get in the Discord for free. And we'll see you guys on Sunday. Good luck in Week 10.